Hey guys, this is FromSoftware with another 5 Answers, a video series where I answer any 5 questions about 5th Gen Armored Core. Today's first question is from Ryushin, who asks, will we ever see a sequel that's PSVR supported? And the simple answer to that is probably no. And the reason being is if you want to do a YouTube or a Wikipedia or review search of Steel Battalion Heavy Armor, that should answer most of your questions. Virtual reality, when it comes to mech sort of stuff and action games like this, tend not to be very good because of how much you have to move and how much input it requires, and it's just too gimmicky right now. Is there potential for a VR for a future title? Yes, but because of how Heavy Armor was, and also because Armored Core has kind of been up and down in terms of how it's been doing, I don't think there's a very good chance we're going to see a VR support for any past Armored Core games or even any future Armored Core games. Next question is from Spitfire and Kylie, who asks, what all is there offered in the way of single player? I've heard that there aren't many missions in 5 and even less in Verdict Day. So 5 in general does have not a whole lot to offer in terms of single player, since it was mainly a multiplayer focused game, but Verdict Day in general has a surprising amount to offer, for kind of being in the same vein. So you have the 10 story missions and then the 50 order/side missions, and in general, if you haven't played 5th Gen Armored Core or never really played 5, then it offers a lot of playtime because those missions are quite difficult for non-5th Gen people. And then once you're done with that, you do have the hardcore mode, which is about 10 different modes where you can play under different difficult circumstances, such as you're only able to die once, or when you spend ammunition, it costs 10 times more. Basically 10 different modes where you have to play through the story again from the very beginning, from a fresh start. So it's not like a new game plus, it's from the very beginning. And then once you're done with that, you can also choose to work on the UNEX, which is basically like the AI ACs from Armored Core Silent Line, where you can kind of build your AI AC in different ways, different parts. And also there's the whole chip system, very similar to Formula Front, that you can mess around with. So there is a significant amount in Verdict Day, although 5, not so much. Next question is from Craig DM Hall, who asks, why isn't there middleweight reverse joint legs? Well, there are. It's just they're not called that. They're the Takakawa class legs in Verdict Day. They move very quickly. They have high base speed, but they have poor overall stats. So there's a lot of parts like that in the game where they can be classified as kind of like a middle, lighter, heavyweight class that aren't called that in the categories. So for instance, with the lightweight biped legs, you do have legs which are more oriented towards armor, more towards speed, and so on and so forth. They just aren't labeled quite as neatly as the more prominent legs are. Next question is from Andrea, who asks about Jay's origins. So in game there isn't a lot of info, but when you look at just at the gameplay elements, particularly on the last story mission, and this is spoilers for people who haven't gotten that far, Jay's AC is basically White Glint from For Answer. The only difference being is kind of it's black in color and it's made of different parts. But if you look at after the art book for Verdict Day, you'll kind of see that Jay is kind of an amalgamation, in my theory, of Joshua O'Brien, the original White Glint from Armored Core 4, and also the Anatolia Raven. So in the book, it talks a bit about having different iterations. You have J1, J2, and J3, and probably what happened is Joshua O'Brien and the Anatolia Ravens are kind of based on that, and they created basically simulations and clones, and they combined them together. Because when you look at Joshua O'Brien's or Jay's original AC, from Armored Core 4. It's I think a mid or lightweight next. And then you look at what the after says Jay's AC in Verdict Day is. It's basically the same version, but black. However, when you get to his story mode unit, which is basically a next, it's the Anatolia Ravens version of White Glint. So it's probably some combination of those two characters, and which it created Jay in Verdict Day. It's kind of hard to tell the full details just because almost all the information is in Japanese, and as of right now, it hasn't been translated yet. Alright, and last question is from Kinjoshi003 Deck Kick. And his question is, what do you think about having shields that you can attack with and shield bashing damage just like the kicking mechanic? So in general, I'm kind of all around in terms of what I think about melee in general. It feels very unbalanced to me, particularly when you look at how pile drivers work in comparison with kicks and having only one weapon for like the physical blade types. But in general, I would say I would have been more interested to see that the shield that the ACs have on their legs have a bigger role in the way gameplay works, just because having to go into ready mode to use it is kind of not very useful, and there's only a small number of legs where they actually have shields on legs. I kind of would have liked shields that the ones that are not equipped for legs, but the ones that you can actually equip on your AC, if they weren't quite as useful as they are now, because there's almost no reason not to use a shield because they work so well on every AC in almost every scenario. And yeah, I think that's about all I have in terms of the melee and kind of shield and the kicking mechanics. Anyway, guys, that's the 5 answers to the questions we have for today. If you have any other questions or questions to the answers that I've given you, feel free to put them down in the comments below. As always, subscribe, like, share if you felt this video was useful and you want to give it if you want to kind of show it to other people. And yeah, thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.